Good evening, everybody. No, wait. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
There we go.
Welcome to Snapshots, Remember When, the Creative Writing Spring Reading. We're your hosts for tonight.
I'm the tantalizing troubadour, Tyree Murphy, and we're here to shake it like a Polaroid picture.
And I'm Bunny Kraft.
Sorry. Well, as I was saying, but on a more serious note, Paul Cabanagro said it's one thing to paint a picture of what a person looks like, but it's another thing to make a portrait of who they are.
And that's exactly what you'll hear tonight. Photography and writing, words in a picture. Our writers have done a great job of portraying the people and events in their lives. You will see the difference between one person's reality and the way something is perceived. We'll browse through 7 sets of memories, each touching on a different aspect of our lives.
I think we should start the show. The first setup is exposure, defined as disclosure, as of something private, something unseen brought to light.
Ladies and gentlemen, Creative Writing presents Snapshot, Remember When. Also, if you haven't silenced your cell phones yet, we would all really appreciate it if you did.
Very much so.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sophie Thomas, and this is Sandcastles. A photo hangs on the opposite wall. It's encased in a wooden frame hidden behind a thin layer of glass. There's a girl, standing by a sandcastle that's decorated in dozens of broken seashells. Behind her, the ocean is a sad gray that matches its sky. The girl's hands are turned towards her creation as if to say she's very proud of what she's made. Her smile is a funny detail on her sun-bleached face, and she looks happy as she stands there, posed for a pointless photo in the heated humidity. A storm's approaching and sand's cleaned every inch of her body. So much time later, the sandcastle has already fallen a million times, and the storm's already hit. Thank you. And next is Evelyn Diaz.
This is watered down. To give up seemed less painful than to have to sort through my complexities, which made me feel high, racing with an imagination of an idealist compared to the defeat that layered throughout my dreams. I didn't want to sleep though. I had so much potential and it was not to be wasted. One day, the northern lights will be at my front door. The bitter Alaska will be felt through my sun-baked fingers, and Ireland will fall in love with me. Thank you. Up next is Casey Craig.
Hi, I'm Casey Craig, and this is autumn text from my country porch. I remember the evenings of September when my darling sent me letters, when we'd sit on the country porch, sprinkled in cinnamon, and the breath of autumn wafted words from the page. They hung from the crimson trees, and maples whose ancient initials of past seasons bled sap. Every word I find in leaves crunching under my feet, and baked in pumpkin pies, the chilled rivers I read by candlelight. Should mahogany eyes grow tired, falling from the page and onto another? Should the ink grow bitter and the sap seep no more? Those summer words still live in the autumn text. Thank you. Up next is Katie Currington.
This is to the girl house over. I want to know what your room looks like. Let me explore the perimeter, memorizing every crevice and wall that surrounds the area. Then I want you to guide me through the court. Let me know the backstory and detail of every object. Maybe we could talk for a few. Find out more about each other. But right now, all I really want to know is, what does your room look like? Thank you. Up next is Amani Jones.
This is to pursue happiness. Let's capture the moments of the smiles on their faces, because to my knowledge, they won't last that long. Matter of fact, they will be long, melancholy even. But then again, looks are deceiving, so who really knows the truth? Let's capture those happy moments because they're an illusion, fading in and out. There's never a constant area of happiness. The smallest things painting the biggest smiles. So let's just sit back for a while. Let's let them enjoy their life. It's a one-time thing. Your experience isn't twice. And in those limited years, let's remain happy. Let's grab your camera, let's snap it, let's capture it. And that photo should have a beautiful frame, and carved underneath it should be your name. Now place that photo on the mantle proudly to always remember the days of being happy. Up next is Michelle Farina.
This is Details of a Friday. Noonday sun illuminating your presence. Radiating warmth so strong, perspiration starts to form the mustache you try so hard to keep shaved. Clouds, defiant of the sky, reside as reflections in the slightly rippled water. Have you ever wondered if Plato was right? If there really is a reality mirror to ours, like a reflection of perfection? I challenge this thought, not because my belief of God or the innate nature of humans making the absence of violence and suffering impossible, but because at this moment, if it were to be true, we were in the reflection of peace and beauty. Meaning, the water could have only reflected a world of chaos in comparison. Our kayak, gliding softly, being carried by the breeze to the shallow patch dead ending into red mangroves. Your lips were traveling too, higher and broader until they reached your strong and prominent cheekbones, revealing a genuine zeal of a half-moon. Your smile must be the daguerreotype imprinted on the moon, preserved to spark curiosity and joy in generations to come. Your honey eyes, mimicking that of a deep amber sun, making me question, if life were a photograph, would it be the positive? Where the negative it was originally derived from had two glorious stars where your eyes are now placed, allowing you to perceive and capture life with such brilliance. Hands, gentle yet powerful, lay at rest on the paddle, as we wait for the sky to sketch its multitudes of hues and contrasts, beckoning back its clouds from the reflections in the water, trading them for the sunset. Thank you.
The next setup is balance.
Balance. Placement of colors, light and dark masses, or large and small objects in a picture to create harmony and equilibrium. And just as these two polar opposites create harmony in a photo, they do the same in relationships.
In this set, you'll hear about the give and take between two specific individuals, objects, or ideas.
The perfect harmony, the perfect balance.
This is distance. We need a name for him, I'd always say. Remembering the times when you and I would steal the night's hours till the early dawn, dreaming up our definition of a future, in which we could manage all of the above, romantic pursuits, careers, and the maintenance of our friendship alike. How the Men in Twisted Dennis and Caddy was a direct reference from an obscene chick flick we'd used to describe boys from South Africa. We even had names for each other. You were my Liebchen, German for lover, and while we were far from it, I always held you a step beyond everyone else. You were fantastic. The girl I'd mentioned with beauty in her mind and lips that could bear the pin-prickling conversations that would travel through my spine, just as the grass you drugged me through did, knowing I was allergic. There was something nonchalant in the relationship we shared. Something beautiful in the way that we could bounce back and forth between topics of European boys and life decisions that were well beyond our years. We were always so quick to pass judgments, claiming the world around us as tragically romantic and in the hands of decaying forces who sought only to destroy it, and ultimately forget about the subtle beauties in life, the glow of a sunlit horizon or the cloudy nature of symbolism. We were navigators of time in our lives with plans to override the continents and eventually rule the world. We were soulmates, in the way we can envision our lives synchronized in both mind and aspiration, with intention set to make love with others, but always have each other, and spend the rest of our days atop the landscapes of Berlin with brass strings and ivory keys beneath our fingertips because, no matter the mother tongue, music was always a language we could comprehend. As Charlie would say,
We were infinite. We were unstoppable and we were everything we needed to be, but unfortunately we were 12. Too young to comprehend the circumference of the tasks we'd set ahead for ourselves. But looking back on those days, I'll never regret them. The moments spent gazing into an alternate reality of which was never quite ours. The bliss in creating fiction and the temporless tunes of crafted abstraction, all which eventually led back to the broken record reminiscing of two teens caught in the bounds of craving the past. We've grown older and wiser, and subsequently more boring. Our lives have become tangled meshes of structure, obligation, and wondering what really comes next. But our dreams, though fragmented, were direct reflections of what we've become. The aspirations of a bohemian and the practicality of having a backup. Because those names never stuck. And while the boys we'd assigned them to always seemed to vanish, you didn't. And I didn't. We're here. Our distance has given us no boundaries thus far, and our link has yet to be detached. I have a name for you. A friend. Thank you. And next up is Elizabeth Gurley.
This is Lost, Found, and Forgiven. I found your wedding ring in the shower. It was hanging on a hook meant for minuscule things, not for objects larger than the circumference of our compromises. The dulled glimmer of it sat swollen with abandon, like a bottle cap in an oiling parking lot. I tell myself that it was an accident, knowing your finger is uncovered as you drive. Perhaps you'll turn to the office and see your hand on the steering wheel. I hope you feel barren, empty, regretful, but especially in love with me. Thank you. Next up is Kaylee Wall.
This is Geography of a Lover's Legs. I've always loved your scars. The way they map across your thighs like railroads in the West, they were crucial. The way they rise like the Rockies, pink against pale skin, the mountains you overcame to get to me. How they slowly drift towards your hips like dirt roads with wooden signs reading, "Hold me here, they are beautiful." Priceless. The type of view surveyors would sell to painters who would spend fortunes, if only for the privilege of trying to capture them on canvas. If the world knew, they would build temples for you. Grace the most blessed hills with your honor. They would build languages from the patterns of your scars. The language of strength, of the warrior in t-shirts and jeans and bright yellow raincoats, or at least I would. And I will, because I've always loved your scars. They tell me all the things you're too afraid to verbalize, and I can never thank them enough for that conversation. Thank you. Next is Ariel Nelson.
This is the infatuation of skin and bones. I want to feel you, not just your arms, but your fingertips too. I want to match the curves of our backs and run my hands along a collarbone. The feeling of lust takes priority over your taste of skinny. And you, darling, are nothing but beautiful. I want to hold your hand and run the edge of my thumb on your knuckles, and slip my lips past that cracked smile of yours. I want to show you what perfection is. So love, look inside a mirror and try to be still, because something about your insecurities is quite intriguing. I want to capture every side of you, every bone, curve, frown line, and crow's feet, because you, darling, are nothing but beautiful. Thank you. Next is Katie Carrington.
This is I Swear She Winks at Me. She stands by the windowsill, dust forming on her curves, but main assets still glowing. Her beauty so captivating, I cannot help but stop and take a glance every time I walk by, knowing she holds my past, my loves, my fears, laughter, and tears, all woven inside of her. With a grin and nod, I walk ahead. Yet, one day, my body grows a mind of its own. As if I come towards it, my arms plunge forward, pulling her body towards mine as I dust off her curves with my fingers. With a simple flick of my fingers and wrists, I open her up. Dusty old scrapbook. Thank you.
A distilled moment in time.
What are you doing?
Obviously trying to get the audience to picture the next set. Frame by frame, duh.
Right. A collection of thoughts, feelings,
Get the
or
pic-
expressions assembled in line with one another.
Get the picture, get it, Splash, picture.
You said picture too many times, Tyree.
Oh my God, you've hurt my image, God.
How about they speak
Hurts
for
so
themselves?
much.
Frame by frame, everyone.
This is autonomy. Free to giggle at nothing. Dance around in your underwear, watch a movie, and give in-depth commentary knowing that your cat doesn't mind if you spoil the ending. You can watch grossly stupid YouTube videos and laugh hysterically with no one to pass judgment. Free to go out shopping and buy at least 3 unnecessary things because the only person you have to take care of is yourself. You can fill your freezers with TV dinner galore and because no one else has any other suggestions. You can leave your bed unmade, dirty dishes to pile up. Getting to page 700 is no problem because no one can derail your train of thought. Best of all, there's no need to be lonely because the friends you have matter, and they are there in times of need. Independence is the opportunity to be yourself.
This is Picture of Youth. You were composing our photos by freezing streets of Play-Doh while freckles of raindrops decorated the pavement. Out to the golden arches, we were making a sand castle using only our French fries because our hands were too salty for sand. We hummed with the clock tower, matching the pitch of the time as the bell struck an hour that could last like history. And it stops where your cheeks are defined to the point where I can see every line on your distinctly sketched body. And your motionless hands are thrown high because you know we're just a photograph, waiting to flee from memorabilia, wanting to be real. Thank you. Next is Yana Gibson.
This is Small Pictures in the Sand. I remember when the only thing he could do was create a giant cotton ball. This made me look like a human Q-tip. All the while turning his belly into a moon bounce. Now my memories sweep the ocean floor. Picking up shells bring us closer. Sand in between my fingers, I can still feel the burn from the hot glue gun. We spent hours arranging the perfect shells to drape around this picture frame. 13 years later and it's still empty. Because now his teeth have eroded by lasting liquor stains of depression. Like negatives on a picture rail, you can see who he once was when the tenderness from the sun touches his face. So now I'm just waiting for the right time. Thank you.
I'm Sadie Bergoglio, and this is 5th grade. I raced down the steps, trampling over the first graders and out the back door. He was already there. Behind the fence, red ball in hand, he smiled widely, yellow teeth showing. I was always angry that I couldn't run fast enough, but it never mattered. As soon as I rounded the fence, we bumped fists as he threw the ball into the air. Gravity pulled it back down to earth as a shadow snatched it from the sky. The black boy giggled and ran to the middle of the field. It took a few more minutes before the other boys arrived, but once in position, Jamal was the first to kick. The rubber sphere bounced into the outfield and he ran through to home plate. I had admired his stride, I realized, years later. The way he put one foot in front of the other, always first on the scene, never the last. Next is Samantha Taylor.
This is an ant.
Little feet trail up my leg like a feather, blackened, jointed, hairy, at first gentle and nurturing. Love bites trailing themselves, intertwining the pain into a ribbon between my toes. In fascination, I watch your faceted black opal eyes take in my foreign skin. My finger sends your little body soaring through the atmosphere. I know you will be back. Thank you. Up next, Amanda Vasquez.
This is Sheet Forts and Flashlights. Reading during storms. Protected by your cavernous warmth, contorted corners and soft folds, pointing flashlights skyward, watching light flicker through threads. Here, I feel safe. Enough to let my imagination fly, characters float around me, ghostly, soundless, yet vivid. Under the sheet between these chairs, my childhood is created.
Sepia, a reddish-brown color associated with monochrome photography of the 19th and early 20th centuries.
Think of sepia as a beautiful shade of brown. Imagine the overcast of orange during a sunset, how everything has sort of, an orange glow, right? Well, think that, except brown.
In this set, you'll hear those timeless pieces, poems, fossilized. I have a problem saying the word fossilized. Sorry. In amber, moments held fast, captured by words, the epitome of nostalgia. Sepia.
My name's Kiana Rest, and this is Recollections. I found that picture you like so much, but I know how you hate reminiscing in times that can never again be. Still, I couldn't help slipping it between the cracks and leaning against the door, thinking of the times that I would wake up in the morning with notes filled with the love that only a mother could express. I hope you find the strength to smile, though I know you haven't in a while. I found that picture you like so much, but I know how you hate reminiscing in times that can never again be. Thank you. Up next is Kaylee Wall.
This is Impediment. They used to tell me my speech had a spur in its side. They gave me a name that I could never properly pronounce. Lisp, an impediment, a disease of the tongue. Symptoms may include reclusiveness, lack of will to speak out, and a probability to excel in the written word. Because like a blind man can hear the church mice as he prays to idols he will never see, when one form of expression is stolen, another is strengthened to fill the gap left in the psyche of the speech-impaired mind. When I was young, I wanted to be an icon, one quoted by all, until I was told I possessed the parcel-tongued speech of a drunk, until I was told the serpent was the cousin of my speech, and I was doomed to forever think to myself, never to verbalize, that she was dumb for selling shells by the seashore, where shells were so readily available. It was pointless, like speaking to a baby in a foreign language or shouting at the deaf. It accomplishes nearly nothing, like trying to teach a 6-year-old to speak with her tongue behind her teeth when all she wants to do is tell you about class, but she won't, because science starts with an S, and she never really will, and she'll never really do well in performances or oral exams, but she'll write, until her fingers are calloused and her hand is numb, until she has run out of things to express, things she suppressed instead of shouted out. Yet that will never happen. The blind man will always hear more than any other in church, and my pen will never sit idle long enough to grow dry, because it's all I've got and I can never stop writing, because I've realized my impediment is more gift than disease. Thank you. Next is Rosalind McDaniel.
This is Look At Me. I can take a picture as many times as I want. Crop, rotate, clock, and counterwise, touch up the flaws of my face, but that wouldn't be me. That wouldn't be the girl that was constantly reminded that if it takes you to step out of your character to satisfy the minds of unintellectual individuals, then it's not the place for you to be. See, I'd rather be the girl that they say is never good enough. The one that is spoken of yet never written about, because I bet a little over half the ones that speak down on me can barely see. They are blinded by society's perspective, and being just like everyone else is all they may ever know. I don't want to be that girl. The girl that is not capable of bringing about an engagement of words that could possibly be speaking of me and still can't comprehend. I want to be the young lady that made it through every obstacle. Even when the shadows behind me said it was not possible, and because I know who I am, I moved on from those type of pictures. Yesterday's generation, I won't forget any of it, because it made me to become who I am today. No longer a dreamer, but an achiever. See, dreams happen in closed eyes, and closed eyes can only hope for the best. But to achieve, you have become the best because you made it. I made it because I never forgot where I came from. A home. Not just a four-walled dimension that withholds a certain amount of people to protect them from the weather, but a home. My safest sanctuary when it's filled with hope, faith, and loved ones that often have this habit of showing pictures to demonstrate the reason I still smile today. Thank you.
Next is Sarah Castro.
This is called Finger Poems. I didn't mean to sound outright disrespectful when my mother asked me, "Why did you waste your day playing Pokemon?" And I shrugged and said I felt like it. The Q&A continued, "Why did you watch reruns of old shows and flip through dated magazines?" I felt like it. "Why did you write a whole 5 pages and delete nothing but one paragraph?" I felt like it. "Why didn't you do your laundry?" I didn't feel like it. Then she said, "You'll never live your life because you just don't feel like it." And I realized no, because silly as it sounds, that's what life is about. It's feeling. Even Einstein, a man whose life was consumed by logic, knew the value of feelings. Feeling and longing are the motive forces behind all human endeavor and creation, he said. And although I cannot give you my stance on his theory of relativity, I can say that I agree with that quote. Because what else could inspire the innovations of the human race? What could have instilled such a fire within Michelangelo that made him want to lie on his back on a rickety stand to paint 5,000 square feet of cherubs and God verse? And if Dante hadn't been trying to forget his feelings of love, then that undying inferno would never have been written. But these emotions are not limited to exploitation by artists. They're just as mundane as a hiccup. You say you're not a morning person because you feel grumpy. You eat when you get home because you feel hungry. And then there are the emotions that shape the rest of your life. Like how there are still times when I cringe when I'm about to say goodbye. Still nights where I can't look into the sky where I'm afraid it'll swallow me whole. And I still think about when I was a child, when I used to write the verses of a poem on the sides of my fingertips so I could fan them out and feel the words like wings, feel them like new, feel them like the freedom that was building up in me when I first uncapped that pen and wrote in my scraggly second-grade script those words that had filled me with so much hope. And I can't even remember the title now. But that's half of what life is. It's the feelings. The other half is just the words, which most people won't even remember someday. Maya Angelou said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel." Even the disciples of Jesus couldn't recount all of his parables. But there is no doubt that the woman that crawled through crowds to touch his holy robes would ever forget what emotions coursed through her at that moment. And this is how we'll live, surging through the crowds of our oppressors, stumbling, shoving, but never stopping short until we reach that holy moment of our own. Thank you. Up next is Haley Guerin.
This is a field of dandelions. The picture sits in a simple 6x8 frame next to the week-old coffee mug on my desk. It brings recollections back, those of the happy times I would frolic in the dandelions, blowing away their fuzz, all in the front yard of my own house. I remember losing a tooth in that field, and the disappointment that the tooth fairy might skip my house, for I had no teeth to give. But of course she came, though. I was all toothless smiles that year, before the goings got rough. Thank you. Up next is Lindsay Wright.
This is Fainter Tune. Guitars don't remind me why
we used to be kids because they can't explain why we aren't anymore. And they don't remind me of you because guitars aren't beautiful enough, like the way we were, because they weren't as unnatural. But they remind me of the flash photography and how you used to draw calligraphy all over my shoulders. Until I was gone, we were laughing and asking questions because we were unnatural, and I didn't have to replace you with music that I already had. Thank you. Next is Jessica Malagreca.
Walk me to the water. Burns beneath my feet, a pain that's just so sweet. It comes from hot asphalt, and no, that'll never be your fault. Then the burns bring a startle, and at this scare your arm I coddle. But significant and treasured are these burns. Their touch Gifts of the sun are such pleasing burns, significant and treasured, their touch I've earned. Earned by egotisms I discard each week, earned by occasions when I refuse to be weak. So walk me to the water, and let's watch the waves, so we can dance among the others who refuse not to be brave. Thank you.
We're going to pause from these pantheon of perfect picturesque poetry to take a 15-minute intermission.
And although the black box is not the green box, it would be very nice of you all to throw away your trash. There's a trash can over there. So, thank you.
Enjoy refreshments.
Haha, I made a funny joke. Green box, black box.